Okay, we're happy to welcome back to the show from Senate Armed Services. He's Senator Markwayne Mullin. Senator, what do you make of the fight between Texas and the Biden White House? The Biden DOJ says it's going to go after Texas because Texas seized control of Shelby Park to stop the federal government from processing illegal border crossers. And now the White House is going to go after Texas. Where do you come down on this?
Well, I think I want to see them try to take it on Texas. At this point, Texas has a right to secure their borders and secure their state because this administration is failing to do that. With 8.8 million illegals across the southern border just since Joe Biden's been in office, Texas has to do something. I mean, think about it. New York and Boston is screaming at the top of their lungs because they've received a few busloads of immigrants, and they're saying that they are literally going to have to close down parks and maybe use sporting centers that was used for youth to house these individuals. Yet Texas is taking the blunt on this. I think this would be a rude awakening, especially if this went through the courts, saying that if the federal government has failed to do so, that the states have the right to take care of themselves, because the states have the right to take care of the people that live in that state too. So the Biden administration is just making noise to distract from the fact that they have failed at the southern border.
Yeah, it's a border collapse. That's what it is.
Yes.
I mean, the president, he's now, listen, you're going to hear the president, he's now denying, saying, no, there's not a crisis at the border. But even former DNI James Clapper says, yes, it is a crisis. It's a national security crisis. Watch this.
I've gotten very concerned about it. The composition of the border crossers has changed a good bit since my day. And now it's much more international. There are Chinese, Russians, and others. So we've traditionally thought about it as, you know, people coming from Central America, South and Central America. Well, it's much broader than that. So this is a serious national security concern.
You know, DNI Clapper says it's a national security concern. Obama's former Homeland Security Secretary Jay Johnson says it's a concern. The Biden says no. Well, the president says no, it's not a crisis. So what's with the topspin? People see with their own eyes what's going on, Senator.
Yeah, Mr. Clapper is absolutely correct. And I think he hit a very good point. When he was in, they were mainly concerned that it was individuals coming from Mexico only. Today, we have 65% of the individuals crossing the border are from other countries, and that they are single males traveling by themselves. In other countries, meaning 170 different nationalities have been captured on the southern border from different countries. So, and majority of them are not traveling with families. In fact, 65% doesn't travel with anyone, and there's a good 20% that's traveling with one or two children that we can't actually identify that's actually their kids, because they're traveling alone with the children, not with another female. It is a huge national security risk. And by the way, not to mention, we've caught over 250 known terrorists. Now, Liz, this isn't individuals that were on the terrorist watch list. These are individuals that were known terrorists that we have caught crossing the southern border. It is without question a national security risk, and why the Democrats, why the Joe Biden administration wants to distract the American people with going after Texas and not actually deal with the facts is almost laughable, and not in a sense that
reckless.
It's funny.
Well, a lot of critics say it's reckless. But now let's move on to this government budget deal, because House Speaker Johnson says he will not accept the Senate budget deal. Conservatives are warning, rather than closing the border, this Senate deal, hammered out by Chuck Schumer and apparently other senators, it will hand out green cards, work permits to millions of illegal immigrants, while continuing the president's catch and release program. It doesn't secure the border. Voters are saying shut the border. We saw a new CBS poll, nearly 7 out of 10, saying border security. This is it's paramount in people's minds. They're saying shut the border now. It's been a free-for-all. This White House turned into a chaotic mess where they do not have operational control of the border. The cartels do. That's what border officials say, Senator.
And they're absolutely correct. The problem that we deal with here is, and by the way, this is separate from the budget. And this is the border security with national security. We're not tying border security to our budget deal. Those are going to be two separate. But when you start talking about this border deal that's been negotiated with James Lankford for the Republicans and trying to work with the White House, it's not a perfect deal. This isn't what we'd like to have. This isn't what we would like to have if we had Donald Trump in office and we had Mitch McConnell or whatever Republican in charge of the Senate working with Speaker Johnson. But just looking at the budget deal itself, the CR is important to not shut the government. This border security, it's not going to shut the border because this Biden administration will not do it.
Well, a lot of conservatives in the House are saying shut the government or, shut the border. If you don't do that, you got to shut the government down. What a fight. Senator Markwayne Mullin, thanks for joining us.